Hello everyone, my name is Cora. Welcome to my channel, Pampered Pages, and welcome to my Shakespeare and Company book haul. I am back from Europe, and the first country that my husband and I spent some time in was France, more specifically, Paris. While we were there, one of my top must-dos was to visit Shakespeare and Company, which is an independent bookstore located in the 5th arrondissement. I will include a link to the store's website, which showcases a variety of information, including the store's history, merchandise links, and a helpful trip planning section, to name a few. Now, on the day we went, we arrived just before noon, and I felt that the outside queue moved pretty quickly. I will insert some of the footage I took before going in, since photos and videos are not allowed once inside. The store was incredibly cozy, and both my husband and I spent a solid chunk of time perusing the shelves before checking out. So with that brief introduction, let's get into the haul. Starting with bookish merch, we picked up this signed print of the cover illustration from Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Interesting fact, Victor Hugo's sarcophagus can be found in the crypt at the Pantheon, which I visited during my first time in Paris. Keeping on a similar trend, I also picked up these 3 postcards. I love each of these for different reasons, and my plan is to eventually make and incorporate these within a gallery wall. I knew prior to my trip that I would be leaving with at least 2 specific items, if I was able, one of them being a tote bag. Now, there were several options to choose from, but this one ended up being my favorite. On one side, we have the name, and on the other, we have a store image, and above the door reads, "Be not inhospitable to strangers, lest they be angels in disguise." I love this tote, and IMO, it's pretty good quality. We have an internal pocket. Always have to mention additional pockets, and it's quite sturdy. I used it for the remainder of our trip, specifically most of the time to carry my French pharmacy and grocery hauls. It also came in handy when I needed to shed my scarf, hat, or gloves. 10 out of 10, have used and will use again and again. Now the moment you may or may not have been waiting for. The books, and I have 3. First up is a copy of Madeline in the Old House in Paris by John Bemelmans Marciano, and a Madeline book was the other item I had intentions on leaving with, if I could find one, as I grew up both reading and watching Madeline. I even had a doll, and if I remember correctly, you could purchase different outfits for her, but I will always remember that one scene when she has to get her appendix removed. Low-key still frightens me just a wee bit. Up next is a book titled Paris, a Literary Anthology, and this was selected by my husband. This is edited by Paris-based writer Zachary Seager and is said to be a collection of first-hand accounts and personal reflections from authors and poets who have lived and worked in Paris. I will say I have read the introduction, and I most definitely do see myself reading this at some point. Finally, I picked up a copy of one of my most anticipated releases for 2025, Murder at Gulls Nest by Jess. Now, this is the UK cover. The set publication date here in the US is currently scheduled for April 8th, but I was so excited to see this there. Jess was one of my favorite authors last year, and I'm very much looking forward to reading her newest work. That is everything we picked up at Shakespeare and Company. I also want to mention that the gentleman who checked us out did insert a bookmark inside each book, and he also asked me if I would like to have them stamped, which I responded, yes please. So each book does have an official Shakespeare and Company stamp within. Overall, my experience at Shakespeare and Company was a dream fulfilled, and I am just so thankful to have had the experience of visiting both the store and the city of Paris, and to be able to share a portion of my travels with you here in this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope each of you have a beautiful day, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you soonish. À bientôt!